recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you and your families are doing well in these weird times. This evening, we start with the first conference of five that the University of Texas at Arlington and Universidad de Chile coordinate to our MBA students. For me, it's an honor to introduce you to our first speaker, José Rosas. José is a successful entrepreneur and graduate of the MBA from Universidad de Chile. Today, he will talk about digital transformation and crypto assets. Before José begins his talk, I remind you that you can ask your questions through our chat. This will be answering at the end of the presentation. José, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alejandra. Thank you, everyone, for attending for this talk. Well, usually we will having everyone in a nice room, and we were able to talk and have a more interactive way to deal with this content. But during the circumstances, we are going to be doing our best in order to have fun during this presentation. Your questions are more than welcome, and I encourage you to have questions about this and concepts. The presentation is 20 slides and is structured with some references and books that you can use afterwards. This presentation might be delivered to you at the end, so you can then go and research on the topics that we are going to review in, today here. And yes, so that's for now. So let's start with this. So the title of this talk is called Digital Transformation and Crypto Assets. So first of all, I will say that in nowadays, everyone says that the digital transformation was accelerated by COVID. And this is kind of, a joke among the people that deal with this. But the truth of the fact is, like COVID or not, digital transformation is already making a huge impact in several different industries. And so this is an author that's called, Matt Wallard. And this book, starts at the end about how we build a product that create change. And one of the things like we see in the market nowadays is solutions like Airbnb that manage to have a big piece of the market in almost no time compared to traditional competitor. So let's try to define digital transformation backwards. So this is the thing that we're seeing, the thing that we need to try to answer as, in MBA people is like, why this stuff is happening. We also try to think about, we think about kind of this digital transformation stuff is just happening in the Western world, So we have the Netflix with the Spotify, the Uber stuff and so on. But the truth of the fact that this is a phenomenon that is happening worldwide, wherever the technology is touching different industries, different solutions are coming, and we are having these new businesses that having a new business model that are leveraging on technology, building a huge customer base in no time, and taking down the traditional incumbent. So this is kind of a matter of comparison in the sense of a specific kind of let's say, digital transformation subject that's called disruptive technologies, and how this is compared with what is the traditional way that we deal with businesses. So on the right, you can see that in a traditional business, let's take, the Marriott example. This is a full regulated industry. We have a central authority. The way that the services that we can provide are regulated. And then these regulations are coming from government, are coming from associations, are coming because we have barriers, economic barriers for kind of new people try to get in these specific markets. So the way that we make decisions have a very rigid framework in that sense. And we are all used to this system. If I want to do a bakery, I need to have some permissions, I need to meet some regulations. If I want to have a bank, I need to have a license. This is all this structure that we have in our minds, and we have this stuff as a society, and we're used to this. On the other hand, technology on the left create these disruptive changes, because people is acquiring this technology, is using this technology, and actually the regulations need to catch up with the changes, with the profound behavioral changes that technologies have in people. So what are the trends that we're seeing here? We have this on the left, this centralized way that we do business, and this trend where we have this prosumer approach, where we are having this more decentralized way to do business. Meaning, like, I don't need to have a regulation or a specific allowance or do something special in order to do business. And here, Uber is an example of that. I can consume a service from a peer, and also I can deliver a service myself. And this is in a concept of that's called shared economy, but also is a way that the centralization of business is fading a little bit with these business models that are becoming more decentralized in a way. Uber, Airbnb, and others that have this shared economy, they are still single companies. So in essence, they are centralized, but they are empowering people in a decentralized fashion. So this is another phenomenon that we're seeing here with this with digital transformation. As we digitalize, disruptive change could happen. So all these phenomena actually is some authors like Gartner, that this huge consulting firm, they envisioned this in 2015, and they call it the programmable economy. They are saying, like, the end of the story of this digital transformation that we are going through, at the end is going to touch every aspect and every business and every industry that we have. So all these incipient changes that we're seeing now, in the sense of having this prosumer approach, these businesses like I can grow, vegetables in my home, and I can sell it to my neighbor through a platform, instead of going to the supermarket, or the Uber approach or the Airbnb approach. Gartner says that by 2050, this is going to be so widespread that every aspect of our society is going to be touched for this way of new way of doing business. So nowadays we're seeing these changes, and we need to understand that this engine and the empowerment is because technology, and technology is just accelerating every year. So every year, the gradual changes are very huge, are exponential. So right now, let's talk a bit about crypto assets. So what are crypto assets? So whenever I start to talk about crypto asset, we have this kind of woohoo feeling, like this is a scam, this is a pyramid scheme, this is a Ponzi scheme, and on one side, and then on the other side, we have people that is saying that that this stuff is the new revolution, that you should put your money on Bitcoin, that this is the new thing. But at the end, what is a crypto asset? That's something that we need to understand, and why this stuff is important in a digital transformation. So basically, we need to understand what is an asset first. And I think that is the more easy comparison that we may have. So an asset is something that have intrinsic value. Whatever that have an economic value, let's just bear me that, maybe your economy teacher is gonna be mad at me, or but for the purpose of this presentation, let's say, that something that have economic value is an asset, okay? So then a crypto asset then is a digital representation of a real asset that could be physical or could be digital. So why is the crypto word there? The crypto word meaning is coming from cryptography, and is talking about a way that could represent an asset in the digital world that is secure. And the digital world have this problem, like an object can exist multiple times. So cryptography is really important when we want to represent an asset, because we cannot replicate real asset as in the digital world. So having a digital representation that is one-to-one, that have this index, is really important. So a crypto asset is a revolution in that sense, because in the digital world, everything can be copied. Everything can be duplicated without the owner of this stuff lose access to the resource. In the real world, it's not like that. I cannot duplicate things. If somebody stole from me my asset, I will not have access to that. In the digital world, it's different. So the crypto asset mimic what happened in the real world. Have cryptography to ensure that the asset couldn't be replicated, and is always representing the digital asset or the real asset. This is kind of, a very succinct definition of a crypto asset. So then what do we have right now in the market? Different kinds of crypto assets. So we have, the cryptocurrencies. And inside the cryptocurrencies, we have the things that are coins, kind of, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, or whatever other coin that actually doesn't have any intrinsic value itself. For example, in the case of Bitcoin, is a bunch of algorithms that basically are representing energy that we spend in order to mine this specific digital currency. And on the other hand, we have tokens. And tokens are a digital representation of something that have real value. That could be energy, that could be, it could be goodwill, could be a loyalty point. But the token is a representation, and a coin is something that as a currency is very similar to the fiat currency that we have. So the thing that is more interesting to us now in terms of the digital transformation, one thing is the currency as a way of payment, but more interesting and more wide is how we build token economies in this digital world. So if we have tokens that doesn't have regulation and compliance and standards, this is just a game. This is like you playing cards with, with tokens or chips at your home. It's not real value on it. When you add compliance regulations and standards, when you add rules, this can be serious. Like when you go to the casino, you're playing with chips, but those chips actually represent money, represent a real underlying asset. So when we're thinking about the crypto asset, we need to understand that this is a digital representation, but at the end, it has to be a framework that actually defines the rules. And the more defined the rules is the better in order to get the efficiencies. Why do we play with a casino? I mean, with chips in the casino. Why don't we play with cash? Is because we want to ease the transactions. We don't want the frictions of trying to get the change and dealing with a bunch of money. We want to ease the friction of the interchange of value. That's the main reason, because we use a token. And that's the reason because crypto assets are really important in the digital transformation, because they help us to ease the friction of the interchange of economic value. So just to have a kind of a summary in terms of the asset and the crypto asset, and a specific kind of crypto asset that's our tokens. So a token then could represent, a kilowatt hour of energy, could represent a currency that is the widespread use that we have for crypto asset, that we call it cryptocurrencies. Could represent commodities, could represent the promise of a product that we are gonna consume afterward, could represent reputation, could represent a ticket on an event. So actually, the asset is representing. I mean, the token is representing an asset and that has real value. And this is where the things get really, really interesting, because since it's digital and we have this way to make this unique relationship, we can represent almost everything that have economic value. And if we can represent that in these systems, we can ease the transactions, and also we are gonna be able to have more interactions and things that we don't have now. So let's go back now to the concept of digital transformation, and this is just how our mind should evolve about where these crypto assets can be used, and how we need to think if we are trying to get a business that will be competitive in this programmable economy. So as business designers, business owners, we need to understand what is the need of our consumer. So, for example, if I need milk, because at breakfast I want to drink milk, I'm not my personal case because I'm intolerant, to milk. But anyways, if I want to drink milk, why I need to buy a cow? So this is the concept that we need to have in our mind. So, okay, there is people that used to buy cows because they need milk. So then, you can evolve that business model and say, okay, well, I will not buy the cow. I will rent, a cow. I will lease a cow. Or we got the business that we have right now, that somebody came with the idea of selling the milk and you forget the cow altogether. But not all the businesses evolve in the same way. And this is really interesting, because the opportunities that we may have from the digital transformation, we need to keep our eyes open, and we are going to understand that there is opportunities everywhere. This is a company that's called Komatsu. So Komatsu is a company that actually, I think many people knows that they build trucks, and this is a specific truck for mining, copper mining. If people from Chile will understand, maybe there are guys from the industry also. So how a company that make trucks come up with a digital transformed business model? So at the beginning, at the end, the copper mining companies, they are not interested in cars. They are not interested in changing tires or training drivers. They need to put out material out of the earth and put it, that's in their refineries. They need to transport things. So at the beginning, they were buying, trucks. Then somehow they evolved to renting. Some companies that was building trucks, they came up with this concept, okay, I'm gonna rent to you. I'm not gonna take care of that. I'm gonna lease, they said. And then Komatsu now comes with a concept that is tons as a service. They are saying to them, like, listen, we take care of everything. You need to transport this amount of tons. I charge you per tons. You don't have to take care about the truck, the driver, or the maintenance of the truck, or whatever it is. I'm gonna solve this problem to you. Many things on digital transformation are old concepts, like the cow and the milk. But sometimes when you apply old concepts, that that are proven to solve the issue in another industry, that also is a good way to do digital transformation from a concept that is already proved. this is another example. So I think every one of us is guilty to buy a cupcake. To buy a cupcake, yeah, for birthday party or for whatever stuff, and we don't bother to pay, let's say $5 or €5 for a cupcake. This is another driver of the digital transformation, that is convenience. So we have the base product, 20 cents, the Magdalena, and then we have, the muffin that is just the Magdalena with some stuff inside. And we're charging 10 times more for that. We put, some blueberries inside or whatever it is. And then we have the cupcake. We put, some cream on top, some, crispy, and we are charging 20 times. And people is paying that because it's convenient. So convenience is another driver of the digital transformation. The problem happens, and let's verify this example on the crypto assets. There is many things that could be digitalized. We know that the man in the middle, the friction that we have when we exchange value is a very huge problem. And as humanity, we're trying to solve this problem many times. This is the third time that we are coming to a way to exchange value that could be represented with something that everyone can trust. And the truth of the fact is, like, those limitations before were actually so bad that we couldn't have different kind of products because of economies of scale. But we always been, as humanity, people that have different needs. So everyone needs a different kind of cupcake. The problem is that it was so inefficient to build it up that we were not having that kind of offer. And then we cannot do this stuff alone. We need cooperation. We need exchange of value. And the needs are very wide, kind of, vegan, lactose-free, gluten-free, sugar-free. So it's not even just the variety of things on a single simple product. Every one of those products could have many subcategories also. And this could happen not just with the cupcakes, but with any kind of industry. So the exchange of value and the digitalization of this asset is really important in order to ease these frictions that we have nowadays. Okay. So right now, let's go with this concept that's kind of, it's a little bit of a mix, but I think it's going to be good to understand and to mix it all up: digital transformation, crypto asset, and blue oceans. So everyone talking, I remember, in the business school, everyone go crazy with blue oceans. As an entrepreneur, blue oceans, the venture capital told you that the blue oceans are really important. What is the size of the market that you are tapping in? Are you creating a market? But nobody told you how to navigate a blue ocean. If you're lucky to find a blue ocean, what do you want to be there? Do you want to be a whale? Do you want to be a shark? Do you want to be a clownfish? So what is the approach that you should get, in a blue ocean? And in this presentation, we're going to see that there's many blue oceans that digital transformation is creating. But there is some of the questions that we need to have. In order to tap in a blue ocean, should I be big? How long lasts a blue ocean? Maybe 40 years ago, a blue ocean may last, years, 20 years. Nowadays, maybe last 5 years or 10. We are accelerating changes. So I'm not saying that you don't go crazy with blue oceans, but blue oceans are opportunities and windows that might be narrowing as we accelerate in digital transformation. And also, I think there's going to be way more blue oceans than before, but they are not going to last as the ones that last before, because your competitive advantages are not so big. Everyone will access to the same technology eventually. So there is many opportunities, much more than before, but are not gonna last as the ones that we were having, in our previous generation. So how we do it? So how we kind of get these opportunities? We have to be patient with us, and we have to understand that the disruption, that the digital opportunities are just really close to us. We have to spend time on thinking and try to understand that if the things are changing so fast, I will need, and it's a must, to think ahead. And I cannot be in this kind of these guys that is in the, in the square cycle kind of. I cannot be like that. If I have this attitude kind of, I'm too busy, this is something that's, we are gonna lose. We are gonna get, overpassing our business from somebody else, somebody that is willing to think. One of these representations about how the business could change and how these digital assets, can create value. This is an example for Walgreens. Walgreens, they were collecting money. Collecting money, but collecting data too of their customers, and they come up with a really interesting way to create a digital asset for their consumers. They were in order to them to share the personal information, they were giving people incentives to do exercise. So the problem that Walgreens was having is like, we have a bunch of data and we don't have enough knowledge to engage with people. So they open an API and they create an open program to other companies to access that data. And there is companies that come up with this solution. So let's have a training reward program. So people that do exercise, we can track them. And then actually, as we track them, they can get rewards. They can get discounts, we can track their health, we can target them then afterwards with a specific discount. So basically, the people were creating a digital asset. It was not a crypto asset though, because it was not in the security with the cryptography, but it was a digital asset. This was a digital asset is a really good example about how a physical activity could create a digital asset that then could be exchanged for goods in the same store. So the problem is like, you will need to trust Walgreens to keep your records. If something happened, you are gonna lose your digital asset. If they got hacked, or they delete, or they change their policies, all these people that create this digital asset is gonna lose this asset. They will not exchange, we're able to change, whatever they think they earn. So crypto asset is the same, but it's gonna be in a technology that will guarantee that nobody will take away the thing that you earn. So for Walgreens, it was really good, because it talks about innovation, it talks about loyalty with their consumers, but the digital asset was so limited because couldn't be transferred to somebody else. You couldn't exchange goods in another thing that were not Walgreens. Even though this was a digital asset, it was not a crypto asset. A crypto asset should be a way that I could exchange with anyone. I could not lose this stuff over time if this crypto asset is representing a digital asset. So this is another thing. I remember, being in the business school and talking about blue oceans, but nobody told you where the blue oceans are. I was looking for them for a while, and and I think this is just from this author Alex Rose that I really like. When he tried to envision what is where the blue oceans are right now. And I'm seeing this stuff myself in the business that I'm running, Every time that we add disruptive technology to a traditional industry, we are going to end up with those words that I'm not pretty sure that you're familiar with. Fintech, PropTech, InsurTech, Green Tech, Health Tech, and so on. So when we're trying to do a new venture, or we want to start a startup, or we want to look about where my industry is going to be evolving, if I'm in the insurance industry and I try to think what will happen to this industry, and with disruptive technology, well, there's already people thinking about that, and they call it InsurTech, and they already have a bunch of products, 30s, so this is the thing that you should be looking for in terms of where are the blue oceans now. They are very incipient. There is companies that are jumping over there. There is a lot of space. And the crazy thing is the way that these companies are approaching the same old problems are creating the blue oceans. So how this digital vortex looks like? What are the industries that are having this stuff first? So we have the media, entertainment, tech products and services, retail, financial services, and telecommunication companies. Curious enough, digital transformation and crypto assets are indexed to each other and correlate in the development. Financial services, correlated with the cryptocurrencies. Media entertainment is moving also to use crypto asset. Tech products and services also, and retail as loyalty programs. So all this digital transformation is intrinsic with the crypto asset world, even though when we studied digital transformation, we never touched the topic of crypto assets at all. So this is something to have in mind about how these authors are thinking about what is the industries that are going to have to evolve first. And we are seeing right now this in the market. So finally, the crypto asset as a last word. Crypto assets is a way to ease transactions. They were designed to have a digital representation of real asset or digital asset. But at the end, this stuff is to put in use in a digital transformation fashion is only gonna make sense if we are solving a real human problem. At the end, we have to be functional. We have to solve things that people need. So even though the crypto assets could sound very geek stuff and digital transformation could sound like, I just need to put my company in an ERP and I'm done. The thing that is evolving is how we are solving problems for people and how we are making them to live easier and more comfortable. And I think it's a good marriage between digital transformation and crypto asset. Well, that's the last slide. Right now, I'm gonna take questions.
Jose, thank you for an interesting talk. Unfortunately, I think that we don't have any question right now, but maybe the students will write. Nicole is telling me that we can open the microphones if someone wants to ask you questions.
There is a question over there I see for Marco. So he's asking, beside market law, supply and demand, and regulation, what other factors determine the value of cryptocurrencies? Well, I think the one that is missing in that question, I will say, is speculation. And but yeah, so to answer that questions, I will say cryptocurrencies, nowadays the value of cryptocurrencies are very related with liquidity, and it's not related with the supply and demand laws. Actually, they are more indexed about how liquid is the cryptocurrency in against the other fiat currencies. And I think that's kind of, I will say the face value of a cryptocurrency. From the technical perspective, I will say from the more technical, philosophical perspective, the cryptocurrencies that to me have more value are the ones that actually behave like a currency. What I mean behave like a currency should allow you to acquire the same value over time. So that's mean, for example, the gold standard. If I were in the Roman Empire with a bar of gold, I let's say I was able to buy a house with a bar of gold. If gold standard is a currency, nowadays with the same gold bar, I should be able to buy a house too. The thing that we're seeing right now with fiat currencies and cryptocurrencies is like they are not behaving like a currency, but they are behaving like a store of value, and they are fluctuating over time very heavily in the sense of what is the thing that you could acquire with that specific cryptocurrency. Let's say, for example, the US dollar is losing, he has lost value in the last 100 years, 100 times. And cryptocurrencies now, since the last 10 years, are going with fluctuations that are thousands of times of their value, initial value, I mean. So those to me are broken systems because you cannot rely on them as a currency. So let's say, what other question we have here? Yeah, so another question that says from Jacobia, this is, what would be the added value for consumers to use cryptocurrencies over current digital mean of payment? So that's a really good question, and I think it's all about trust and who issue the currencies. So the only way that we could imagine our world right now is having a digital representation of fiat currency. So even cryptocurrencies right now have this problem, everything is pegged to a fiat currency, let's say the US dollar. So if I pay in by a digital mean, even a credit card, in my mind, everyone is calculating how many dollars I'm spending on this. If I have a cryptocurrency, I also am calculating about what is the value in US dollars that we have from this cryptocurrency. When you have a crypto asset or a token economy, the exchange of value could go back to the asset itself. And this is really interesting in that sense, because the only standards that we have right now in the world, I will say, is three: fiat currencies, the old gold standard that we are not using anymore, and cryptocurrencies. An asset value economy will benefit the consumer because the consumer will know to have a need to define or adhere or comply with any system to exchange value. The only thing that you will need is two peers to agree on something and exchange value without going to a centralized system. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna give you, just having the questions that you have there, I'm gonna give you an example of a company that actually is using crypto assets. So I'm just gonna share with you a link. So this is a company that's called Atando Cabos. you can see that video and you are gonna understand what they're doing. I think that's a good example. This company recycle ropes from the sea, but in order to find the ropes, you need the help of fishermen and local communities to get the ropes out of the sea. The question is how this company create the right incentives, transparency, in order to get all this community to work together. So the thing that they did, they create a goodwill with the farm fish companies that actually lose the ropes, and also they track the fishermen and communities that collect this stuff, and they create an internal token in order to compensate all of them. And this is a closed system. So the way that you communicate this is like the cows and the milk, answering another question over there from Jonathan. You don't communicate the technology. You don't get people loose with the cryptography and stuff like that. If people see the benefits, they are gonna be able to use it. I think sometimes we just overcomplicate things. So let me find out another question. So this is another question from Matthias that says, what political implications could it have this technology disruption in society? This is a really interesting question. Thank you for that, Matthias. The implications are really wide if we think about taxes. I think there is, depending on the country, there is always this interchange of value or an economic activity that is not taxed by the government, or they are willing to tax, but they cannot tax. And that stuff is something that could be accelerated with this crypto asset rise. On the other hand, the countries that are already working on this, and I will say like China, Estonia, and other countries, they could benefit because, if they create a governmental platform that is allowing the exchange of crypto assets in a frictionless and effortless way, actually you will be able to collect taxes more efficiently. So this is true stories. The cyberpunk story, revolution, that's mean governments are doing everything bad, and change the world. And then is another story about governments and company actually taking this technology and spreading this technology because of the efficiencies that this stuff have. So this is another question here. So what are likely problems that cryptocurrency possess to the financial sector in the future? Curious enough, from Jacobia, curious enough, the financial sector is the first sector that actually is adopting this technology. So this is a consortium of financial institutions that they're being, I will say, the project is called Corda, and they've been 5 years experimenting on these technologies, especially for remittances. And it's not for the end consumer, but they are using this to synchronize different branches that have different currencies. They create an internal currency to do internal reconciliation. So I think they are aware that they are using this. So the only thing is, like, as society evolve to have this as a day-to-day use, for sure they will have to evolve their business. So I will say that there is another question from Nihad, or I don't know, I'm sorry my pronunciation if I get it bad. So this is kind of a couple of questions over there. So this is going to be interesting. So will ever there be a real asset to back up the cryptocurrencies? As the gold back up the currency, what will be the backup for crypto? And if it earns its value from energy mining, is that going to change as technology allows for more efficient mining technology? So those questions are more related with one kind of cryptocurrency that have, this stuff that is called proof of work mining algorithm. That's in order to create the scarcity on the availability of the coin. They increase the complexity. So every time it needs more energy in order to generate a coin. That kind of design is really bad. It's a really bad design because we will be spending more energy in order to perform more transaction, and actually it's not scalable because as we grow and we want to transact more, we're going to be spending more energy. And this is an idea that goes back 10 years ago. And nowadays in the crypto world right now, we have many alternatives that are not so extensive on the use of energy. And the thing that is more interesting to me is the tokens, crypto tokens. That is one kind of crypto asset that actually relies on real assets. And I think that's the future. So this is another question from Steve that says, what is the biggest challenge for companies to move more decentralized? And I think this is a really interesting question. And how do you design your business model? I think companies by essence, are centralized entities, but they can create decentralized business models. They can create a system that could survive and prevail themselves in the sense of compensating the user for the activities that they perform. So I don't think that companies is gonna become more decentralized itself. I think companies that will evolve will create business model in a more decentralized fashion. So Nihad, so do you mind sharing with us the name of token that you think is the future? No, I cannot do that, I'm afraid. Okay, so looks like there is no more questions.
Thank you, Jose. Maybe that was the last question from the students.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, everyone. Well, I'm going to be sending this presentation to the organization, so you can have it and take a look to the books and do your own research on that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We will send to all the participants, and on behalf of Bolson University, thank you for your time and to share all your knowledge with our students. Here, Carlos Bayona is telling us that we have another question.
Okay, let's make that the last one then.
No, they're joking, maybe. No. See, there is another question.
Okay, so let's see. So that's going to be the last one from Omar then. So with cryptocurrencies and tokens, by eliminating central entities and currencies such as the dollars, are we going back to barter economy? Yes, I think you understood, Omar, where we're heading. So the barter economy actually is the natural way of how we interact to each other. The problem with the barter economy itself is have many issues. The first problem is the counterpart has to have a will to consume the product that you have. Let's say that you want to exchange a pig for a cow. First of all, you may not be able to divide the cow without killing the cow, and the other person has to be willing to exchange the cow for the pig. That's a huge problem with the barter economy, the willingness in order to exchange things that have value. the crypto asset will add that a layer of virtualization of the barter economy, because even though you may have a representation on the same asset, let's say, the cow and the pig, you will exchange this stuff digitally. You could exchange the asset and the equivalent to the asset as we do now with currencies, kind of maybe a half of the asset, maybe a percentage of the asset. But the exchange of these crypto assets will not have the friction of the barter economy, because you will not have the friction of the willingness, and also you can divide the asset. Of course, you will not be able to, let's say, withdraw or claim, half of a cow, so you will have to complete the cow in order to get it at the end. But between the participants, there is no need for them to have the will to do it. They will just do it because of the need. Yeah, well, thank you for your questions. And it's really interesting, to have your question. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alejandra, and the, and the two universities, that I think you are doing a great job having these opportunities to interact with the students with these topics. So thank you so much.
Thank you for always be one of our greatest speakers. And I hope to see you soon. We are waiting for you in Santiago. I hope that all your family is safe right now. And thank you for all the students that attend this presentation. And remember that tomorrow at the same time, we will have the talk of our Dean, Professor José Gregorio. Thank you very much and good night.
Good night. Bye.